On today's Photo Moment, we're going to be looking at the Webcaster X2 from Epiphan and seeing if we can pump a real camera into that USB port. Good morning and welcome to PhotoJoseph's Photo Moment, the first live daily photo show here on YouTube every weekday morning, 9:30 a.m. Pacific. You don't have to watch live, but it's really cool if you do. And if you do, you get to do things like this. Participate in the chit chat. You can comment, you can ask questions, you can tell me what I'm doing wrong, which believe me, happens a lot. But it's an awesome way to participate. Now, if you are watching live and you have a question, do be sure to type in @PhotoJoseph in front of it. As you can see on the screen there, it highlights my name and then I can see it and I know that that's a question for me to respond to. Today we are going to do this is like a okay, this show is nuts. This is, how did you describe it, Ryan? A test within a test within a test? So I'm doing this show, right? This is the primary, normal, everyday type of show. And we're talking about the Epiphan X2. This is the Webcaster X2. This is hardware we've talked about before. We'll link up here to all the previous shows. We'll build a playlist, or we have a playlist up there. Just click on the thing there. For all the shows we've done around this product before, pretty cool little $300 product allowing you to stream live to Facebook and YouTube and do it quite easily. It has its limitations, it has its advantages. At $300, it's a great price point. So this is why we've been reviewing it for a while now. One of its capabilities, one of its new features that's actually technically in beta, is you can add a secondary camera via USB. So the device has, and we'll look at it out there in just a moment, but the device has a single HDMI input, but it also has a USB input so you can hook up a webcam. Now, that feature is currently in beta. So whatever we see today, keep in mind that this is not yet shipping hardware. If we see anything today that isn't great or doesn't work, we will re-review that come the time for shipping hardware. And the secret is I actually know the answer to this question. I already know what's going to happen, but I'm not going to tell you yet because I had to test it beforehand. Anyway, so what today's test is trying to put a real camera into, and by real camera I mean a DSLR, DSLM, not a webcam, into that USB port by using a USB converter. And that's what we're going to be talking about. And we're going to actually go live from the device into a secondary stream. So this is the primary stream. We'll be launching a secondary stream, which if you are watching this live, we'll be starting, well, live. If you're not watching this live, it's linked up here. Don't start it yet. Just kind of find it, open it, get ready to pause, and then you'll know when to start it. Okay, so that's the part. Now the second test, the test within a test, is I'm also testing a new microphone. This is a microphone that was very inexpensive. It has been, this was sent from the company. We'll talk about it in a moment. And that's why I have two microphones here today. And the secondary microphone will be running through the Webcaster X2 stream. So it's a test within a test within a test. And as Ryan said, we might need Leo to come help us out of this hole. Anyway, so that's the plan this morning. See, anything else you want to do there? Nope, let's just do this real lickety-split quick. I do want to thank our host for today's show, our sponsor rather for today's show. PhotoJoseph's Photo Moment is brought to you today in part by FidoNet.com. Whether you need a domain name, web hosting, or your own virtual server, FidoNet.com are the people to talk to. And to save 10%, be sure to use the code PhotoJoseph on checkout. So I save 10%. We all like to save money, right? Saving money? We want to. Okay, we're set here. I think it's time to head out to the other room. So I am going to go off ears, which now means it's up to Ryan to make sure that things don't get totally screwed up. And I have to pull this out, otherwise I have a tail. See, this is where I knew there was a reason I hadn't tethered this in this morning. There we go. All right, grab my switcher, grab my water, and let's go into the other room. Hey, look at that. We're already on I guess I should switch to this camera, studio camera. There we go. Now we're on camera. Howdy. Cables everywhere. And let's go. All right. So let's review what we've got today. Good morning out in the main studio here. So point the camera at that real quick, please, Ryan. Right here, this camera, the GH5. Right here, see it? Yeah, he's got it. All right, so the GH5 is currently tethered into, come over here, the Webcaster X2. This is the Webcaster X2. That is the wee little hardware. Can you zoom in? Can you zoom in any more on that? Anyway, that's the Webcaster X2. We've talked about it a bunch. We don't need to go into it in detail right here. It is currently connected via Wi-Fi's, via the Wi-Fi's. It's got a USB, or rather a HDMI in from the GH5, so that's the primary camera on there. And I can actually show you this now because I set this up properly this time. Yes, That's it. So you are now I realize the audio is not going to be in sync, but what you're looking at right now is the feed from the GH5 and from this little webcam here routing into the Webcaster X2. Make sense? Okay, so here's the configuration. I told you, it's like Inception. It's a show within a show within a show. This is a little complicated. I got the GH5 and an webcam, USB webcam, plugged into the X2. Now that I've set this up so that it is actually routing out into my Atomos Ninja Assassin so that I can see the screen, that is now feeding out, looping into a converter so that you can see that, and that is what you are seeing when I do this. So now you are seeing that camera. Again, not audio in sync, I get that, so we won't spend a whole lot of time there. Last time we tried to do this, it didn't work because I didn't have the converter in place, so I got the converter in place so you can see that. I'm using my Atomos Ninja Assassin for this, but I do have this little box set up here. You might recall I did a review on this thing a while ago, or a quick look. This is a really, really inexpensive HDMI monitor. It's like 50 bucks. This does work with this. I tested it out. The only reason I'm not using it now is because I want to loop the feed back to you so you can see it. But this does work as a monitor because with the X2 you do have to have a monitor. So keep that in mind as an inexpensive monitor to add. This tiny little guy, it's really thin, lightweight. It does need power, but so does the X2. And there you've got your monitoring solution. Then you do need a mouse, and for part of what we're going to do, you need a keyboard as well. So let's take a look at the settings in here. I'm going to go into, get the right one, back into that. Now let's see, I'm going to go into the preferences, and we'll take a look at the settings that we have in the preferences. We're looking at the X2 settings right now. So we've already gone through all of this before. I just want to quickly look at the ones we need specifically for this show. So you see it says enable USB camera. It's still in beta, and that is turned on. And then the settings for this are down at the bottom. So multi-source, that's what we're looking at. Multi-source is enabled, and the space bar will toggle multi-source on and off. And then tab will switch the inputs. Now honestly, even though I've checked this on before, it must just be a bug. Every time I leave the screen and come back, this gets disabled, but it still works. So spacebar and tab are two keys that I will want to use, and this is why I have a keyboard connected out here. This is why I've got this keyboard plugged in, which is annoyingly huge, but obviously if you're actually building a portable kit, you would get a tiny little USB keyboard to make this work. Okay. So now we've got that. USB source resolution is set to full 1080p because the camera I have connected is 1080p. And then you've got layouts, and this is really cool. You can switch this up. So you got a right top, picture-in-picture, PIP, picture-in-picture, right top, right bottom, left top, left bottom. You can do a full screen overlap, twin side-by-side, or 2/3 left, 2/3 right, so a little split screen thing. I'm gonna leave it at this right top, and you'll see why once we start actually looking at it. You can also change the size of the picture-in-picture with the plus-minus keys on the keyboard, change the padding around it with the home and end buttons, and change the transparency of that with the page up, page down. I'll try and demo those all, but honestly I'm probably going to forget half of them because that's a lot of different keys. It didn't work. So here's what I wanted to do. Here's what I set up. I used my GX85, which then plugged this into the USB port. Didn't work. What happened was when I first plugged this, so I have everything's running with this webcam. Everything's looking great. I unplug that, picture freezes, and then eventually goes away, obviously, because I unplugged it. Plug in the AV.io, that's what this converter is called, AV.io, and all images came to a screeching, stuttering halt. Weird. And I think I did not get a picture at all off of that camera. So then I rebooted it. Okay, that's fine, we'll just reboot. Reboot, same. Reboot again, same. Plugged in the webcam, rebooted, worked perfectly, shut it down, plugged in the other one, rebooted, didn't work. So, not the answer that we want. We want to know that this works. It is still in beta, so there is still an opportunity that this can get fixed. The way that I kind of felt about it, not that I know anything about how this crap actually works, but it was like there was a data overload. Too much data rushing through that USB port at once, and it kind of went, freak out, didn't know what to do, and came to a screeching halt. That's kind of how it felt. Again, what the hell do I know? But that's the impression that I got. So that does not work. But using a little webcam like this works perfectly. Now this is it's kind of industry standard. This thing is the Logitech, what the heck, no, I don't remember what model this is, C920 or something like that. Really nice little webcam, 1080p. You can't argue with these things. They're pretty darn good and they're really cheap. So as a secondary camera, it works out really well. So let's go ahead and fire up this stream. So I'm going to switch back over to this. You can see how this starts. Let me tab this over. So we've got the main camera on there. And again, I know out of sync right now. That's okay. I am going to, destination is set correctly. In fact, let's just hide the other stream. Destination is set. Let's start the stream. And I have set this so that it will start immediately. It's not going to go into a preview stage. It is going to start immediately. So with any luck, right about now, we are getting a live stream from the Epiphan. It shows me that I'm live. 14 seconds into the stream, it says that it's good. I am going to try and find that stream over on my phone, which I tried to do earlier but couldn't. So let's try this again. Open this up here so that I can see if I can see the comments on that. And I want to make sure that it is actually live. Yes, I see the stream. I got multiple streams. Yep, we're live on the Epiphan. Superb. Let's mute that. Excellent. Okay, so that's working. I'm going to open up the comments here so that I can try and monitor comments on both. If I can figure out how to do that. Where do you find the comments on the phone? That's funny. I don't think I've ever actually tried to do that. On the bottom. There's on the very bottom. Ryan says, I keep scrolling down. It keeps showing more shows. Oh, it's because I'm not in the app. Whatever. It's live. We know it's live. I'll look at the comments later. Okay, so this is us. So now we've got, let's see here. Let's take a look. Switch over. Everybody watch the X2 stream, which is this one here. So now we should be live on here. I've got the GH5 set up here. I can't reach it to change zoom. That would have been smart. But what I want to show you is, well, first of all, listen. Remember, we're testing two things at once here. We are now also testing the KNF Concept microphone. This is the very inexpensive wireless microphone that I was asked to look at. So we're looking at it for the first time now. This won't be the last. We'll take a second look at it. But this is purchased on Amazon. There's a link down below. Full disclosure, I did not pay for it. They sent this to me to review. But if it sucks, I'm going to tell you so. And this is the first time. I'm not even hearing it right now. I don't know. It might sound amazing. It might sound awful. You have to tell me because I don't know. So if you please comment in the X2 stream, because that's where you're hearing this microphone, what you think about the audio quality. I want to hear it. Okay, so this is this guy here. So now what we're going to do is simultaneously talk about the X2 and the microphone. So the X2, I've got now two cameras set up. Remember, and if I hit the space bar on my keyboard, it opens up that second camera. I can turn that off. Open up the space bar again. Let's just do like a little webcam. We'll point it at me there. I can hit the tab key and it swaps them. Now here's what's really cool. If I hit the space bar again, we have now lost the second camera. So now tab is just a full screen back and forth between the two. So you don't have to have the full-on picture-in-picture, split screen or any of that. You can actually treat this as a complete two-camera source, just switch between the two. And you can do transitions, but let's face it, transitions suck. Let's just cut between it, make it easy on the encoders, and off we go. So I can take this little camera here, and I can point that down. Let's switch over to that camera, and I can point this down if I wanted to show off the product. Use this as a little tabletop camera here. And now what I'll do is I'll take advantage of this and bring up the little belt pack for this KNF Concept microphone, wireless microphone that I'm also showing off here. And we'll see how this is made. So let's take a quick look at this guy. This is plastic, unlike the much, much more expensive Sennheiser pack, which is metal, but you can compare the size. They're about the same size. The Sennheiser pack is metal, well, probably partially plastic, but partially metal for sure. And this guy is entirely plastic. This little door here does feel a little cheesy, a little hard to get into, but it opens. That's fine. You got a channel switcher there, a mic switch here, which is actually a mute button, so that will mute it, and a power switch on the top. You can switch channels on here. I haven't played with that yet, but you can switch channels. Hopefully the channel that's running right now is just fine, and that is really all there is to it. On the receiver, which is currently sitting on top of the GH5, which, let's see here. If you're watching the secondary stream, Ryan, go ahead and zoom in on that. We'll switch over to that camera for a moment. If you zoom in on that guy, you should see that there. That's actually, I'll just walk over there. I'm on a wireless mic. Let's take a quick look at this. Let's do this. So this guy, there's the KNF Concept receiver. Again, power button on the top, little plug out, plugs into the camera directly. Open this guy up and you've got a volume control here. So there's not a volume control on the transmitter, which if you're using the Sennheiser, you'll find volume level controls on both. There is not one on the transmitter, only on the receiver, but you adjust the levels on here and off you go. And then of course you need to simultaneously adjust the levels on your camera, but that's the same no matter what mic you're using. Okay, so there's all of that. Now, I think that's enough of the X2. Is there anything else we want to do in the X2? Hey, I know what we'll do. Let's take a look at the other changes. So we can do the tab like that. Let's see here. I'm going to open up my settings in here, and let's switch back to on the primary stream. You can see the settings for the X2 right now that we're looking at. I can do the picture-in-picture size. We saw that, or rather not size, picture-in-picture layout. Let's try a different layout. Let's go for a twin side-by-side layout, which I think is kind of cool. And then we're this. So now if you're watching the X2 stream. We've got a side-by-side split screen, which is really neat. I think that's a pretty cool way to set this up so you can have a whole split screen there. And then the other one that's pretty cool, let's go back to looking at this view, is, let's go into the preferences, set this one more time. So we are looking for, where did it go? Oops, scroll down to the bottom. And instead of, where are we layouts? So instead of the twin, let's do for a 2/3 left. And let's see what that looks like. So now, see, my comments are hiding, covering it. There we go. So, okay, so now that's kind of a weirder one. So we're seeing both pictures. They're split and look kind of weird. I don't know if I like that one as much. Honestly, I'm a fan of just making it simple and going for the full-on, full screen. Let's go back down again. And it doesn't really, I mean, I can set it to a full screen source, or, oops, turn that back. I see those things disable themselves automatically for some reason. Doesn't matter if I do a picture-in-picture or not, because I can simply turn one off and then tab between the two, which I think is a pretty cool way to do it. All right, I'm going to kill the X2 stream and come back to the main studio camera here. So let's do that. I'm seeing lots of comments on there. Be interesting to read those later. I can't read them now. They're microscopic on this screen. So let me just stop that secondary stream there. See you later. Thank you very much. And that is now off. Now we're back to this stream only. And that's that. So we were looking at the KNF concept microphone. Hopefully that sounded good. We're looking at the Webcaster X2 using a GH5 and unfortunately only a webcam, because sending in a second real camera via the Epiphan USB converter didn't quite cut it. And I think that's everything. Let's head back into the other room. I need this. I'll try not to trip over cables on the way. Alrighty. So, what do you think, folks? Pretty good? Now I'm looking at the comments for everything. So I'm going to take a look now and see what people are saying about the sound. Sound is okay. No peaking. Oh, Ryan talking. Sean saying you would say it's picking up more of the room space and less bass in your voice in the Sennheiser. Thank you, Sean. Very good observation. Sound completely changed when you put your head down. Is it pointing towards your mouth? No, I have both microphones pointing down for that exact reason. SRO Digital, not unsurprisingly, the usual live mic output sounds better quality to you anyway. By usual, I presume you mean the Sennheiser, which I would expect it to sound better. You know, we're talking about a product that is, what, a quarter the price or less, like 20% of the price or something like that, a considerably less expensive wireless microphone. So what you need to decide is, does it sound good enough? Now, obviously, sound isn't everything, right? There's range, there's interference. We have a lot more things to test, but this was a first look at it. And if it sounded good, then we're off to the races. We're off to a good start, right? Sounding good is a first step. If it just sounded like crap when we were in close proximity in a controlled environment, that would be a bad sign. But if you're saying it sounds pretty good, then we're off to the races. I think it's good. All right. Sean's pointing out that the cast off the X2 is 6 to 8 seconds ahead of the first feed. Yeah, we discovered that when we did a simultaneous broadcast. You might recall, we'll link to that up here, but you might recall at one point we did a simultaneous, the same show streaming out over the X2 and over my Wirecast setup that I usually use. The X2 was earlier, but it had other problems. That was its kind of only real advantage. There were some quality issues in there, which Epiphan is absolutely looking into and seeing if they can improve on. We love that. Okay, back over to the main chat. Let's see what's happening over here. Actually, before we do that, let me just go over here and once again thank our fabulous sponsor and tell you that today's PhotoJoseph's Photo Moment is brought to you by FidoNet.com. Whether you need a domain name, web hosting, or your own virtual server, FidoNet.com are the people to talk to. With access to more than 400 top-level domains, you're sure to find the right domain for your project. Or do you need to host a website? FidoNet.com are specialists in web hosting. With more than 20 years experience serving websites, the folks at FidoNet.com will be able to help you get your website online in record time and at an affordable price. FidoNet.com, where those in the know go, and those who use the code PhotoJoseph on checkout save 10%. Ding! While I was reading that, I walked out in the other room, got my mug with water because I forgot it. Look, it's a fabulous mug from FidoNet. What are you going to do? Okay, let's see the comments in here. Estro confirming usual live sounds better, but the test mic is fine. Excellent. Carlos says, I'm actually surprised by the quality of sound from the test microphone. It's not a Sennheiser, though. Good. So surprised by it, meaning it's good. Definitely not as good as the Sennheiser. Totally acceptable, but good. Awesome. Estro says, can you juggle balls? No, I can't. No, I definitely, that's not good. I can juggle eggs, raw eggs specifically. Okay, let's see here. Let's, what else we got? Okay, I guess that's it. That's pretty much everything. Epiphan could not be here today. The guy who usually is on vacation, so they're not here today to participate in the chat, but there you go. They say la vie. Okay, that's it. Hey, if you didn't see yesterday's, GH5 thing, go check that out. That was fun if you're interested in the GH5. Also, if you didn't see yesterday's live training, you definitely check that out. We looked at stacking in Affinity for Photo iOS. That will be up for sale later today if you missed the live stream. And the macOS version we did earlier this week, and that, of course, is already available. If you're not catching those, make sure that you are subscribed to all the YouTubes and the Facebooks and Twitters and everywhere else you find out about these shows so you can watch them live if that fits into your schedule. Let's see, anything else I want to yada out today? I think we're good there. All right, we are going to cut this show off. We're going to switch over to the commentary portion of the show. So any questions you have, whatever they might be about, whether about this or GH5 or anything you want, that's where we're going to be. We'll be right back in just a moment after this short break.